Hi everyone, praise the Lord. Welcome to the podcasting class. My name is Pastor King from Gospel Media Academy, and I would love to welcome all of you that signed up for the podcasting class. Well, today our major focus is going to be an introduction to podcasting, what podcasting is all about. When you talk about podcasts, what do you understand by podcast? What is podcasting? What are the things that I need to podcast? Or how can I start a podcast? Why podcasting and all that. So that's majorly our major focus in today's class. We are going to look at podcasting. So I would love you to first of all subscribe to the channel, like the video, and indicate in the live chat where you are watching from, your name and where you're watching from, because I'm interested in knowing who actually is in class today. Yes, and then once you're done with that, I also want you to indicate in the live chat what you understand by podcasting, or what is podcasting to you. When you hear podcasting, what is in your mind? Or when you hear podcast, I have a podcast, I'm starting a podcast, what is a podcast? So include that in the live chat. Yes, please make sure you include it in the live chat. So once you are done with that, I would love to share with us what a podcast really is. When we talk about podcast, what runs in your mind and what is a podcast in real sense. So a podcast majorly is, I should say a podcast is like an answered prayer for radio. Yeah, because on radio, you turn on your radio, either it's on your phone or you have your radio, radio, yeah, in your house. You turn it on and you listen. And majorly it's more of audio. You're listening, you're not seeing people visually, you're just listening. So this is audio being transmitted through the airwaves, being broadcasted, and you are listening. Now when we talk about podcast still is audio, or typically, or it's more of audio, much as the people who have converted or who have moved, from just podcast being audio to video as well. But here we are focusing on audio content. So here we are having audio being broadcasted and transmitted, but now through the internet. So a podcast is more of a digital audio file you download or listen to over the internet. So you can download it from the internet, or you can just listen to it over the internet. So that is a podcast. So if we talk about podcasting, here we are looking at audio files, yeah, creation of audio files. Most times they are in series or they are topical. For example, you find that my first podcast I may talk about, maybe my podcast is called The Money Magnet, and in my podcast I may talk about money. So you find that in my episode 1, I may talk about what is money. Episode 2, misconception about money. Episode 3, how to make money. Episode 4, how to keep money. Episode 5, what the world talks about money. Episode, it's all about money. So from year in to year out, I may just majorly be focusing on money, because my podcast is The Money Magnet. So I talk about just money. But now this is in audio form, so people can listen to it, they can find it available on the internet, and they can relate and connect with it. So in simple terms, as I said, a podcast is an audio file, a digital file, an audio digital file, or a digital audio file that you can download from the internet, or you can listen to over the internet. How simple as that? Okay, so as I said earlier, podcasting has been more of audio, but over the years, people are starting to transition from just audio to video. So the setup is the same, the discussions are the same, the content is the same, but now they're bringing in the visual aspect of it. They're putting the cameras on, and people are seeing them discussing, because most of the people easily connect more with visual. They connect with people they see than just hearing. Much as with podcasts, audio specifically, it is easy for you first of all to create, meaning it's a cheaper option, or you don't need to work on the background, work on your makeup, like organize yourself physically and everything, because people are going to see you. Yeah, But instead, all you need to do is to make sure that you have your sound gears available, you have your sound equipment available, the sound is excellent, people can hear you audibly, your content is available. So with podcasting, you need to have the audio content available. Yeah, so it's cheaper, as I said, meaning you're going to spend less compared to video. And then also it is easier to create. It is easy. It's not so complex. So you're going to just talk. You need to have your content and talk, and have the voice and talk. So the podcasts are easy to distribute. You can easily share them, and people can easily access them. People can easily listen to them. And it's also easier for you to create long form content. Why? Because I can be in my car and I'm walking, I'm following, I'm listening to the communications, the interactions. So it is easy for people to consume long form content in audio. Why? Because they can do other things while they're listening. Whereas with video, you'll find that long form video content really needs someone to see it, eyes on the screen, and really you can't even switch to another application because you have to be stuck there to see whatever is being done. Whereas with the audios or the podcast content, you find that even as I'm running, I'm jogging, I'm following through, I'm listening, so it is really, really, really easy to distribute. People can easily consume the long form content, and then most times it's more informative, because now on podcasting people are sharing depth conversations, and most times in podcasts, apart from just being a one-man person, most people have more of shows, because these podcasts most times are like shows. So as I'm having my podcast, The Money Magnet, we are talking about money. So it's more exciting when it's just more than one person, or we are two people, we're discussing a topic, and then, the next week we are coming on, we're having another person on board. So most of the podcasts are more that way, and they are fun and informative and exciting in that way, and they are on demand. There is more demand on such podcast content. Yeah, so majorly those are some of the benefits, or should I say, of podcasting. But aside from those aspects, you can actually share the gospel through podcasts, meaning you can get let me give you one of the ways. Pick your Sunday service messages, the sermons of your man of God, and be uploading them. That is already a podcast, because, if, for example, you're sharing in series, people can easily follow through. They're looking forward to the next part, They can ask questions, they can keep listening freely. Yeah. And then the other benefit is that you can share the gospel through your podcast. And then if you are someone who is focused on a particular topic, maybe you're not there to preach to people, but you want to talk about, I'm using money a lot, you want to talk about finance, or you want to talk about health, yeah, so you can focus on a topic and be an expert in that. So podcasting can also help you to share knowledge and your expertise. You can build a community and connect with people. People always want to connect with someone who has something they need. So when you find people who are looking for health-based content and they find your podcast, the Healthy Living Show, and so they are following through, they are asking questions, they want to know more how to connect with you, so you can build a community there as well with like-minded individuals or like-minded people who are interested in that, or who are into that Healthy Living Show. They'll easily connect with you. And then also it helps you to build or establish your personal brand and establish yourself as an authority in that particular area. So if you want to be known as an authority in money, starting a money podcast is one way to get you started, or to make you shine, or to be visible as a money magnet and an expert in the area of money. So those are some of the benefits of podcasting. Now, if there is any that you feel I could have left out, please leave it in the live chat. I'm interested in knowing what are the other benefits about podcasting. Maybe you've been podcasting and you have an experience, and there are things that you've encountered that you feel you'd love to share. Please leave them in the live chat or in the comments below. So what are some of the platforms that you need to know all the platforms you can podcast. Yeah, I know why. Okay, I'm excited about the benefits of podcasting. Okay, then now that I know why I need to podcast, or what's the importance of podcasting, how then can I podcast, or what are some of the platforms I can start on? So there is Apple Podcasts. Most people have like iPhones or Apple tablets. You will easily find that Apple Podcast app on the phone. Yeah, so we have the Apple Podcast. We have Anchor. Personally, I use Anchor so much, and then I use the RSS feed to circulate the same on my Apple Podcast. So whatever I upload on Anchor can be visible on Apple. So that's the bit. That's why I say that the benefit of podcasts is that they're easy to distribute. Why? Because when you have a particular podcast platform that you are using, you can actually have that content appear on other podcasts platforms. Yeah, so you'll find that my content on Anchor is appearing on Apple Podcasts, appearing on Spotify, appearing on Google Podcasts. So all those different podcast platforms that are there. Maybe just to give you some names of the podcast platforms that are there, or that you can work with. There is Podbean. Some of these platforms have a fee attached, subscription. They do have free versions, but then you'll have to, there are limitations with the free versions, but then you'll have to subscribe either monthly or subscribe annually or 3 years, depending. And they come with different packages. So there are different packages depending on your target audience, on how like the people you want to reach, and the bandwidth you want. So we have Buzzsprout, BUZZSPROUT. Then there is Podbean. Then there is Simplecast. Then there is Spreaker. Then there is Blabry, that is BLUBRRY. And then there is Castos. Then there is Transistor. Then Captivate. I like Anchor because with Anchor I can use it on the computer, and then also, Anchor is for free. It doesn't have a cost attached. Then on your mobile phone, you can download the app and have it on your phone. So personally, I really do like Anchor. Oh God, I love Anchor, and I'll keep saying it. Okay, so if you are starting, I know most people usually don't want to incur costs. That means I'm sure most of you will be downloading the Anchor app. So Anchor is ANCHOR. Yeah, so Anchor somehow has a relationship with Spotify. They call it Spotify for Creators. That's what usually now they call it, Spotify for Creators. But then there's Spotify for listeners, for people who are just listening in. So those are some of the platforms, or some of the platforms you can adventure. Check them out and see. Actually, now one of our assignments for the podcast class, you're going to check out those platforms that I've mentioned, see what is there, check out for any Christian shows and programs there, some podcasts there, and then you will write a report, a one-page report on the different platforms. Which platform would you go for and why, in comparison to the others that you've checked out. So your assignment is to check out these sites and come up with a one-page write-up of which platform you would go for and why. So you will share the benefits of that platform vis-a-vis to the others. Yes. So how then? Okay, now I know the platforms to use. What do I need to start a podcast? Okay, so what do you need? Some of the equipment or some of the gears that you need is you need recording equipment, because here you need the audios and you need to record the audios. The easiest way to get started without making it all complicated, if you have a mobile phone which has an audio recorder, like I do have my mobile phone here. I love using my mobile phone for audio recording. You can get started with your mobile phone. So you can record on your mobile phone, and then if you do have if you have a Lavelle microphone, you can get a Lavelle microphone. In Uganda, Lavelle microphones, you can get them at 150,000, which may be, let me see, approximately to how many dollars, in case you are not within Uganda and you need to know how much. Actually, let us say you'll be approximately to $38. So you need like $38 to get a Lavelle microphone. So a Lavelle microphone can actually work for you, and you can still use the Lavelle microphone to record on your mobile phone, especially if you don't want to use your phone direct, like you turn on your audio recorder and you're using it directly the way it is, but then you want to connect your microphone and then connect it to your phone, and then you have more refined sound coming through your mobile. Or if you have a laptop and you have a recording software on your laptop, for example, Adobe Audition can do recording, Audacity can do recording, Waveform can do recording. So you can have your microphone connected to your computer, and then you're able to record that audio. Yeah, so there are other more complex recording, like those studio microphones for that people use in the music studios. Yeah, so there are people who use such. So I really not to go into that. So you need headphones so that you can hear the sound. So some of the things, you need headphones so that you can confirm that the sound is good, because a number of people are going to be listening in with headphones or earphones, because you have to monitor your audio. So that will help you to monitor your audio and see how your audio is. And then if you have a microphone and you don't want to use your phone to record, you can get an audio recorder. These are sold in those gadget shops. Yeah, in town. You can find them in William Street. If you're within Kampala, you can find them there at William Street. Audio recorders, the Sony, you can find from like 300,000, which is, let us say, approximately like $60 or $65. Yeah, so you can get yourself that. And then what else do you need? You need a recording software. Now, me, I just use my phone. I press record and record. I like that because it is simple and cost effective. But then other people do use softwares, especially if they're using other gadgets. You're going to have a mixer, a compressor, a condenser, microphone, and all that. And then you will need to use a software, either using Waveform or you're using Audition, Adobe Audition. There is GarageBand or Audacity. You can use all that to record. But also Audacity and Audition do work for editing, meaning you can edit your audios with Audition. I use more of Adobe Audition, which I'll be taking us through in the classes ahead. Yeah, so Adobe Audition, you can use Adobe Audition to edit your content and have your audios refined well to the way you want them to be. If you want to add in some music, reduce noise, all those, we shall look at them. So you can edit, cut out the things you don't want, maybe things you say that you don't want to be heard, or you want to maybe increase the sound volume, you want to clean out the background noise or some of the noise that you don't want, you want to have noise reduction done, you want to add in some music or add in an intro and an outro, all that can be done. So I'll be taking us through that in the classes ahead. Yep, so that is it basically with some of the things that you need, or the equipment or the technical aspects that you need in preparation for your podcasting. Now, aside from that, let us say, for example, you are done with the recordings, you are done with the editing of your audios and podcasts. Now you're ready to publish them, you're ready to upload them. Definitely, before you do that, there are certain things that you have to keep in mind before you even say that now I'm going to record, now I'm going to do this and that. You need to define certain things. You need to plan. Planning is very key. Actually, after you have looked at the storytelling class, it's important for you to plan. Much as I didn't go through this, but I'll share with you a link of a simple video, a short video, to guide you on the aspect of planning. How do you plan for your content? So first of all, you have to define the niche. What are you going to focus on? As I said earlier, is it about money? Is it about health? What are you going to focus on? Then how often are you going to be posting? Is it going to be weekly? And if weekly, which days of the week, what time? And then once you've defined that, you'll find that if you're going to be posting once every week, that means every month you need at least to have 4 forms of content. So not forms, you have to have 4 pieces, let me say, of content. So if I'm looking at money, I'll look at my first episode will focus on this, the second will focus on this. If it's going to be twice a week, that means in a month I need 8. So the first episode will be on Tuesday, the second will be on Thursday. So every Tuesday and every Thursday, 6 p.m., I'll be sharing this. So you have to come up with a guide. What am I going to talk about? What are the key things I need to say? So you have to define all those things and have them highlighted, so that at the end of the week or at the end of the month, or when the time comes for you to have that podcast on, you're not telling people, oh, sorry, I was not able to upload because this and this and this. That's why it's important for you to start planning. Even before you enter the next month, it's important for you to plan so that you keep that appointment. Once you've communicated and said that my Money Magnet podcast will be running every Thursday, 6 p.m., and will be on from 6 to 7, that means it's for 1 hour. So I have to make sure that I keep an appointment. Every Thursday, I am appearing from 6 to 7 and people are ready to listen in. So you find that you have to plan for it. You're not going to just appear anytime I feel like you just post. No. Just like these classes come to you every single week. There is a time tag attached. So you have to tag the time. And remember, as you're defining your content, in the previous class of storytelling, you should have defined who your target audience is. What are you offering them? What are the problems and what solutions are you offering them? So if you've not done the previous class assignment, please make sure that you do it. It's not proper for you to come into this class when you have not attended to the previous class. So work on those assignments so that it is easy for you to move forward with this. Yeah. So I've talked about the target audience. I've talked about you defining the niche, what you want to talk about. And, so if you're not going to be alone as well, you have to define, okay, who am I going to be with? That means you may need to either talk with them, agree, and tell them, okay, we shall be recording, we shall be doing this, prepare our content. So you have to plan for it. Or you're going to have different people you're going to be inviting and hosting. You have to have a schedule for that. You have to to make those appointments with those people so that you have to, engage them. So I hope that we are all working towards that and you're planning. So you need to come up with those plans. You need to define those things. So one of our assignments is going to be, number 1, come up with a name for your podcast. Okay, before the name, number 1, I want you to define what is your podcast going to be all about. What is your niche? What is your podcast going to focus on? Then number 2, come up with a name for your podcast. Number 3, I'm sure in the previous you should have already defined your target audience. So number 3, I want you to define, when is your podcast going to be running and how often is it going to run? So if it's going to be once a week, when and what time and for how long? Yeah. So I want you to define that. And then I want you to remember what you put in the assignment, the previous assignment. You've already answered who your target audience is for your podcast. So if you realize that what you answered in the previous assignment for storytelling doesn't rhyme with this, then I want you to edit it. Yeah, I want you to redo it and indicate who is your target audience for the podcast. Then what are you offering them? What are their problems? What are their issues? I need you to define that. Yeah. And then now I want you to also define what platform you're going to use, because I expect you to have done your research on the different platforms, and then now you choose, this is a platform I'm going to focus on. So once you're done with that, we shall be ready to get started in creating the podcast. So those are some of the things that I wanted to talk about. So once you've done all that, remember in the coming class, I will show us how to record, because some people may say, we don't know how to record. Where do we get the audio recorder? I'll be able to show you that, how to get the audio recorder, how to, to record and edit. So we shall record something and edit. So as you've defined that, remember I've told you if you've defined that you're going to do it for 4 weeks. Remember we are working, we are studying together and practically doing this together. So if you've defined that your content is going to be once every week, I want you to go ahead and come up with a brief guide on your content. Episode 1 will be about this. If you're going to have someone, let you have also someone. So I want you to come up with a timetable, a calendar of this month of September. What am I going to give for week 1, which is this week, yeah? What am I going to give for week 2? What am I going to give for week 3? What am I going to give for week 4? Now, this particular assignment, we are not going to submit it next week. We are submitting it within this week because I want us to move and to move faster. So immediately you've done, please share, upload it in the Google Classroom. Share what you're going to do and all that, and I'll be sharing some highlights on the page so that there is interaction. So in case you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section or on the WhatsApp podcast classroom page. Yeah, and I'll be glad to respond to that. Remember to keep in mind the things we talked about when you're coming up with your script, your guide of what you're going to share, because next week, I would love us to be doing our first podcast, meaning this month you'll have 3 episodes if you're doing once every week. If you're doing it twice a week, that means you will have 6. So I want you to define I want you to come up with a guide of your list. If you're going to have any interviews or talk shows, you're going to engage people, get the people. So come up with a timetable, a schedule, a calendar. This is what I'm going to have. I'll look at this topic with this person, and then this one will be on this date. You get like that. And then you have a guide on, if it's an interview, what are the questions you're going to ask. You need to come up with those things. And remember to keep in mind the art of storytelling. Yeah, that has to be in mind as you are planning your content. So if you are done with that, I want you to indicate in the live chat, I am done with this. So take note of those assignments, work on them, and you can get started even immediately after this class, because this class is not very long, but what you're supposed to do really needs you time to do. So immediately after this class, please get time, go to the internet, check out those platforms I've told you, get to see the different podcasts that are there, look out for what would you go for and choose. Then work on the assignment and submit it, and we'll be good to go for the next class. Otherwise, that is it. Once you are done with the creating, the editing, I've talked about that. Now you'll be able to upload your podcast, which I will show us using Anchor to upload your podcast, and then you can share them. Now, when it comes to uploading podcasts, there is what they call RSS feed. Remember, I told you that with podcasts, it's possible for me to upload my podcast and it is being seen by other, it can also appear on other podcast platforms that I'm on. So I upload on one place and then it appears everywhere else. So there is what we call RSS feed. Now, RSS is called in full really simple syndication. Really simple syndication. Those are RSS feeds. Yeah, so I just wanted us to take note of that. So once you've published, uploaded, definitely you need people to follow you or to subscribe to you, to like. You can study the analytics, how are people listening in, how are people downloading your audios and all that. You'll be able to view all that, which we shall look at in the classes ahead. So here I just wanted to give us a broad highlight of everything you need to know about podcasting, just the simple things that you need to take note of. Otherwise, that is it for today's class. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Like the video, spread the message. Yeah, spread the message. And work on the assignments on time and let us dominate the podcast space. I remain Pastor King, Gospel Media Academy. Shalom, shalom.